It looked pretty bad, her condition. Were you aware of any of this? I'm like, no. So to see her like that, it was very heartbreaking for me. And they said she has no cartilage in her knee.
Oh my God.
About getting ready to have a baby, it was tremendously a hard time. My stepdad ended up having a stroke.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Her not walking properly. We're wondering what's going on. So the baby's around this time. The baby's here. At the time, my husband was a truck driver and I was doing a 9 to 5 all while doing this. A hard time. When I say hard. About 3 weeks after him having the stroke, I had to quit the job.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. I'm Colleen Cadet Francois. If you are new here, I help busy professionals convert buildings into licensed assisted living facilities in homes. I also sit on boards for syndication. So if you're here and you don't necessarily want to own an assisted living, but you want to syndicate one, or you are one of the partners involved in the syndication, I sit on boards and I give pitfalls to avoid. Today, I am super excited because I am here with Miss Carashay Williams. She is a financial strategist, and she is also a sandwich generation caregiver. When I tell you, you do want to listen to everything she has to say, and I am super excited to dive into the conversation. Miss Carashay, I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself. I am so grateful that you are here today.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Carlene, for having me. This is actually my first podcast. So I'm super excited about, what I'm able to share with you today. So as you say, my name is Carashay Williams. I'm a licensed financial strategist, and I help families to strategize with their finances. And the best thing that I like to look at is recession-proof finances. How to recession-proof your finances, especially in the time that we're living in, how to defend of what's going on. There's a lot of tariff talk. So I always look into strategies. I distribute financial products and services, and I don't believe in one size fit all. I believe that it's supposed to be tailored to the individual, and we look at what that person has going on and where they're looking to get to. So goals matter in our conversation, and where they're looking to get to at what time. Is that retirement? Is that buying a new house? Is that, preparing for a new baby? What have you? We look at the strategies so that we could get that individual or that family to where they need to get to.
That is so exciting because I know the stuff that you're going to talk about are things that you have gone through, right? You're a mom. You had to juggle life between caring for both of your parents. Like, girl, thank you for what you do, because I know it is not easy. First, we're going to go into your professional background, right? How did you become a licensed financial strategist? How you use it on your day-to-day, and how you're making a difference to our caregiving communities.
Awesome. So before I was in this space, I was a case manager. And if anyone knows case management, it could be a very hectic position especially when you're dealing with the, underserved population. So it's a lot. When I became a mom, I realized that I had to pivot because I could not juggle that environment with a newborn. And then also I found out that I had to take care of my mom, and not just my mom, my stepfather. So both of them together. So I had to think of different ways, of different strategies of how am I going to care for my family financially while I have to do that. So I was introduced to this space, the finance space. And I was introduced by a friend actually who, said, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm helping families. And I'm like, I would love to do that because I always want to touch people's hearts because I love to see people win. So it was a no-brainer for me. That's why I got into this space. So I learned everything. I read books, because when I tell you that everything that you were taught in school is not what is going to help you out in the real world. So I like to have these conversations with people because it's always an aha moment for them to say, oh my God, I didn't learn this. And I've gone through so many years of working, how I'm now learning this. So I'm always having that conversation with people. I got into the space of strategizing because, again, financial strategist, I have to figure out what's out there. And it's similar to if you work at AT&T, right? And you your plans, but then that T-Mobile may have a better plan, but you're not going to really offer that service because you're not working for T-Mobile. I had to find out all of the providers that are out there so that I'm offering the one that's better suited to the family rather than, tailored to just one provider.
That is so amazing, right? Going back to what you said about what we learned in school, part of our home education, at home, we have the type of education that you need to respect people have rights and all of these things that you can't say at school. And I'm literally saying that to my children. And then we have the type of education that we know the school system, unfortunately, hopefully one day they will get there, but they are not teaching our children. And those are the type of education that make us into successful people, right? Like even for me, for example, I went to college, did whole schooling here, but it was the outside learnings outside of the school that made me successful, that made me retire early, that made me very financially focused. And so we have to pass it on. So kudos to you for even acknowledging that. I absolutely love that.
You know what it is? People have to understand is there is a public side to understanding things and there's a private side to understanding things. And if you want to know what the public side is everything that's in your face, that's advertised to you, what they tell you at school. But know that all that information, there's that background of the private sense of understanding things. So as you said, you went to school, you did the degrees, you did all these things, but you really found your success by finding the other side of things, which is the private side of things. And that is what I'm trying to, show to the community that, hey, all that you learned, don't throw it out the window, appreciate it, but take it with a grain of salt and also learn. Start reading more books, start having more conversations with other people, finding out what they know, because you may not know everything and that you thought you knew.
Absolutely. And in fact, we don't know everything. And like you, I like to read. I'm a book a month type of girl. And with everything else I have going on, because I feel like it's so important for us to be able to educate ourselves and fill up our cups so we can go to our communities and be an asset to that community and open up their eyes.
Exactly.
Super excited that you're doing that. I want to go into how did you become a caregiver, right? I know you cover a little bit about the introduction of how you became a caregiver. Can we go a little deeper on that?
Of course. I moved to Florida. I originally lived in New York and I moved for love. I'm here with my husband.
That is so cute.
So, I moved and I wanted my parents to be around because, I left them there in New York and I was like, okay, mommy, how about moving to Florida? She didn't really like the idea at first, but she did visit me. And then she's like, I actually love it. Let's do it. A few years had passed. And then she said, okay, actually, let's do it. Let's find me a place and I'll move to Florida. And I said, great. So I worked with a realtor, found her a perfect place. So what the plan was is that I had my husband fly into New York and drive them down to Florida. That is where everything was a turning point for me. When my husband got to Florida, he said, did you know your mom is walking with a walker? And I said, no. It was like, what is he talking about? I talked to my mom. She sounds just fine. I have no clue about her walking in that way. And he's like, she has a walker and it looked pretty bad, her condition. Were you aware of any of this? So I'm like, no. So I call my mom, obviously, because I'm like, what is he talking about? So I'm like, mommy, is everything okay? She was like, yeah, I'm having some really bad knee problems. And I'm like, what problems?
Oh my God.
And obviously we couldn't have that conversation over the phone because it was them getting ready to move on down. So I said, all right, when you come, we'll figure it out. Let's see what happened. Let's figure out what's going on with your needs. I'm sure we're just going to get new providers for you and then we'll sort out that when you get here. So she's here, super excited. And I really saw the condition of my mom. Talk about breaking down inside, but obviously not showing it. It was like, I'm used to seeing my mom up and about. She worked double shifts because she used to be a nurse. So I saw her in that light of strength. So to see her like that, it was very heartbreaking for me because it's like, well, this lady who is the epitome of strength is literally relying on this device to get around, to walk, and you could see the pain in her face.
Oh.
So immediately, about a week, because even with the move, there was a little hiccup there because the company that took her belongings, kind of delayed. And it was COVID around that time too. So there was a lot going on. So as soon as everything got settled, we got her new providers and they said she has no cartilage in her knee.
Oh
Like,
my God.
they wanted to do both knees, but knowing my mom, she felt like she didn't want to be reliant on anyone. So she wanted to just focus on one knee, which was the worst one out of the two. So they did the surgery and it was successful, but she just wasn't walking. And we weren't sure why she wasn't walking. So we thought it was something psychological where she was afraid of probably falling when she walks. But as it progressed, my stepdad ended up having a stroke.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So you have all of this going on. You thought about moving your parents because you miss them.
Yes.
But then between the time that you left, so much have happened so quickly.
So quick.
And you had no way of knowing because, if they don't tell you, how would you know?
How would I know?
And
Right.
around that time, what was also going on in your life?
Well, at that time, I was, about getting ready to have a baby. And
Oh my goodness.
yes. So even while I was pregnant and me doing my weekly checkup, going to the OB, I was also taking my mom to her appointments for her knee issues. My stepdad had a little strength at that time, so he was assisting my mom a little bit. But then fast forward to having the baby, my mom had the knee surgery, her not walking properly. We're wondering what's going on. So the baby's around this time, the baby's here. So I had to take the carrier, take my mom to the appointments. It was like a lot. At the time, my husband was a truck driver. So he was gone for long stretches. So he wasn't really physically here. I had to do it all by myself. And then after, say the baby didn't turn 1 yet. That's when my stepdad had the stroke.
Oh my goodness. So you just became a new mom and you're overwhelmed with joy, but you're also overwhelmed with all of the responsibilities because now you're caring mostly for your mom.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure you're also helping your stepdad because some things they have to come to you. For one, they're new to the state.
Exactly. So we had to navigate this new system for them, letting them know where is what, this is where Publix is, this is where, just trying to navigate the new system for them, plus having this baby, and I'm navigating momhood at that time. So it was a lot going on. And I was doing a 9 to 5 all while doing this. So,
oh my God, you are a trooper.
Yes.
Thank you for what you do. And you wear it so well. Thank you. That's all I can say because I can only try to understand what juggling all of these things. And I'm a mom of 3 and having a baby. Every time I have a baby, I have no energy. I'm just imagining that, your husband is not here yet because he's out traveling. And now you have to care for 3 people.
Yes.
One is a newborn baby and how your body feels and everything that you have going on.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's prayer. Even though you can feel lost in times like that. And I'm a strong believer of God. And that's where I get my comfort is,
Amen.
God, this is what's going on right now. And I don't know what to do, but only you could give me a way out, a sign. Like, what is it that you want me to do so that I can feel, one, not so stressed of the situation. And I'm not saying let my life be easy. I never prayed like that because I want to be realistic as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is the problems that I have to take through my life. I ask for the strength. I ask for the tools. I ask to be aligned to the people to help me to get through this. And also while doing it, to be a blessing to other people because he receives the glory at the end of the day.
Amen.
I pray through it all, even though it was tremendously a hard time. When I say hard, especially when my stepdad had the stroke. About 3 weeks after him having the stroke, I had to quit the job. Doing 9 to 5. And I told my husband, and I was like, listen, this is a lot. I know you're gone for long stretches, but I cannot do this 9 to 5. Now my stepdad is going to be added to this mix of issues that I have to deal with. So what he did, as any loving husband, that best that they could do is saying, okay, I'll find a job where I can do locally and come and help you, especially with the baby.
Oh my
So,
God. I am so grateful that you have a great husband. My husband is also a great husband. And
yeah.
I like to say wherever I go, oftentimes he don't go where I go. I go to, and I give him credit that I wouldn't be able to do the things that I'm able to do being a mom that started having children in her very early 20s.
Hmm.
So the husband played a major role. And like you, I also share deep faith, peace that passes all understanding. So I can see that God granting you that grace. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you have a way of finding peace, because that's how we can get lost. When we don't have peace, we don't have supporting husbands. And sometimes it's not because they are not so supporting. Oftentimes it's because they cannot afford for you not to be working, and sometimes that may play a role into it. And I'm super grateful that you had that support. And so with your stepdad, how did you navigate now caring for three people full time?
So when he got the stroke, they sent him to one of the nursing home facilities because, rehab. So he's trying to get back. I forgot what side it was, but he had to regain his functionality pretty much. So it was a lot of physical therapy, occupational therapy. He was in the rehab. Going to the rehab, I took my time just to make sure that, I understand this problem as much as I can, because again, this was new and I had to bring the baby to the facility too. So, I had to haul him on. So while that happened, and then my mom couldn't go to the facility because remember of her issues as well. She couldn't really walk. I mean, in the latter part, she would come, but that was another situation where it was just me. So learning his condition and having to navigate new medications for him now, new providers for him now, it took a while. So when I no longer have the job, I think I could have rested easy a little bit because I didn't have to go to 9 to 5. So I could have just focused on baby, stepdad, and mommy.
Which is still a lot. Which
Yeah,
is still a lot.
that's
But
it's a lot.
wow.
Still a lot. But at least I didn't have to worry about waking up early to go to a physical place and, all that stuff. Well, while that happened, again, this is where I now got into the industry now, finding out my situation. So it was really, how the word they use, epiphany.
Mm-hmm.
When I looked at my mom and my stepdad, I was like, is this the same cycle I would be in where if I don't figure out, what to do now, is it where I'm going to have to depend on family members to take care of me? Because that's just what it is. Remember, my mom was a nurse. She was a hardworking nurse. And my stepdad, he was also hardworking. He was doing maintenance. So now that they're retired, but they have been in a medical decline. When I say medical decline, they can't do anything for themselves.
And it happens fast.
It
Like,
happens so quick, so fast. And I'm like, oh, what is it that I have to do? So this is me trying to navigate the Broward system now to find out what are the resources for elderly people. And while I'm going on that journey, it's tough because it's hardly any resources. And it's hard when you do the research and you're asking questions, you're not really getting much out of anyone. It's really who's on the inside of who, hey, you could do this or you could try that. I'm just relying on the Google at the time. And then Google only told me, oh, you could do this. But when you call, they're like, oh, but if you have Medicaid LTC, you can't get community LTC. And it's like a whole lot of things. So navigating that was very stressful.
wow. I
Yeah.
can only imagine. And the thing is, because I do this full time where I am helping people get licensed. So senior care and large caregiving conferences is all I do. So I'm on the phone speaking with caregivers, going out networking with people within the industry. And I speak with our sandwich generation all the time. And it's just so much that you guys don't know. And it's so sad. And Google will not be able to give you those information, right?
Not at all.
Like, because when we spoke, I gave you some resources, but I was years too late by the time we finally met.
But you know what? Just to show you how God moves, just the other day, I called the case manager that was on his case. And I was telling her, I feel like you have to reassess my stepfather's case because he's not walking right now. He could have walked, but he's declined. As I said, he's declining. He can't walk right now. And with the short amount of hours that we did get, it was like 26 hours a week, it became a staffing issue, because a lot of the independent contractors didn't want to take the case because it was too little hours. So I said, we're running up into an issue where no one comes to help my stepfather, then he won't have the help that he needs to get by because he can't do things on his own. She reopened the case, did the reassessment, and oh my God, when the agency called me, I almost broke down a little bit because I was like, you serious? She said, you are granted 47 hours a week for your stepfather. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I love that.
Needing this so long. I needed this. And then when she said 47 hours, I was happy. I was over the moon because I'm like, now we can staff him properly. Now he can go to the restroom when he has to and get food on time, not having to wait till maybe, someone shows up to the house, like a family member. Now we have actual people who could help him. So I'm excited about that.
That is so amazing. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
And if you don't mind sharing, what is the company that you were able to use to get those type of help?
So Simply Health gave us Prima Health is who they're called. And I developed a really good relationship with the coordinator there because, she knows my situation because when I call her name's Darlene. I'm like, Darlene. And she says, I know. She said, I know, baby. Her voice is so comforting. She said, I know, baby. I'm trying my best so that I can staff your father's case. And I'm like, please, I would plead with her so often. And then when she called me with that news, she says, I have some news. I'm like, what is it? I'm like, is it a bad news or what? She said, no, it's good news. And she said, your dad has 47 hours. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I immediately reached out to the case manager as well, because obviously with her going back to whoever she has to reopen the case to do the reassessment, she played a big part in that as well.
Super amazing. And don't you love to work with people who actually have a heart for what they do, because they can empathize with you, even though because of the rules or regulations, whatever she had to do, she couldn't give you what was needed at the time.
Exactly.
But she took the time to comfort you, right? To let you know, hey, I see you and I understand you. And that is profound. So I'm glad you also found that in her.
Yes. Oh my
Yes.
God. I even have a personal number outside of the agency number. She allows me to call her, when she's off the clock. She said, if anything, let me know. And I'm like, okay, I'll definitely do that. So I'm happy I could lean in on her like that.
That is super amazing. So what about siblings? Because you have a lot going on. So at this phase, you juggle everything, but you have some level of help, or you are actually able to breathe a little bit.
Yes.
But are there siblings involved? And if so, how are they assisting you throughout this entire process you had to go through?
At first, they're involved by me having conversations with them, but they're not here physically. So that was very hard. And, while I love my siblings, but there is that issue where I hear a lot, siblings don't help that one sibling that is helping their parents physically. It's like they kind of rely on that sibling to say, okay, you got it. Just let me know what you need or keep me posted. That's all they would say. Right? Or they probably would come once in a while, but it's just not enough. And it's very important that if the person who's experiencing physically taking care of the parents is to voice to the other siblings about how they feel. For a very long time, I kept that in. I didn't express how I feel. I would just kind of bottle it up and kind of go with it. I did start to voice about how I felt. And I let them know how unfair it was that me having the baby, especially, that they see that they needed to help me in that way more. So I guess with the heartfelt conversation, they try to step in as much as they can. So they are doing much better. They're improving. But
That's good.
yeah, that is good. But I do encourage whoever is in the same situation and have other siblings is to have that conversation. Have a family meeting and let them know that it's not fair to just allow that one sibling to take care of everything. It's a joint effort because it's your parents too.
Yes, I also come across that because I notice in every family, there's always that one caring, overly caring person that everybody silently know if something happens, this person is going to take care of
Yeah.
us. But it's also important for everyone to also know this person needs help. And while caring for someone else, they need more help more than ever. And don't just say, keep me posted, or I want to be involved, but I'm too busy. But actually find some time to actually help out,
Yeah.
even if it's just, once a month or twice a month, however you can, but do something, because that main caregiver will be able to do something for themselves. And I'm very big with caregivers taking care of themselves, right? Because sometimes we can care for everybody else and we don't care for ourselves, and it's easier said than done. But when people step in, we're able to say, oh, it's okay for me to do something for myself. And that's why I think it's so important what you said, that to express how you feel and then for others to actually help out as well. And
Yeah.
sometimes even in our own communities, like our church communities and different caregiving groups within the community, sometimes they can give you what is called a respite help, right? They
Yeah.
can come sit and you can go get some fresh air, get a massage. You deserve that. With all of that said, what are some financial advice that you would have if you were in retrospective, if you were your parent, what would you do differently to set your son up, to set the next generation up, and also set yourself up so that it can make it a bit easier to get things done for them?
This is going to sound a bit controversial, but especially in our community, they'll find it very taboo about what it is that I'm about to say. Especially for siblings who have parents who are getting older, it should be a joint effort to get a life insurance policy on your parents. And the reason why I'm saying this is because our community is the one being left behind financially. And I know it sounds a bit crass to say, well, why are you going to put a life insurance policy on my parents so that when they die, you benefit off of it? But it sets you up so that your generation behind you don't fall into that pit that we are, especially the sandwich generation has fallen into, to take care of the parent. The very least that can be done when they pass off, we can take care of the generation behind us so that they don't feel that burden, right? A lot of other communities do it, right? Because they
Listen,
understand the importance of inheritance.
you're
But
correct. You're
yes,
correct. And you're right. It is controversial.
yeah.
But you are 100% correct.
Hmm.
Because the thing is, even while taking care of your parents, you are now using some of the resources that belongs to you and your child to take care of them. At the least, having the life insurance will be able to at least give you some of which that was taking to take care of them. And
Exactly.
hopefully you'll have something left over to pick up where you left off, or because you're taking time, because even from your story, so now you have loss of income,
Hmm.
right? The income that you actually had while you were working, you were probably using most of it to take care of them, making sure they are all set,
Hmm.
on top of having to leave your job because now you have no income to go take care of them full time.
Hmm.
So now you're losing all of this income while you are using the little bit that you did have to
Hmm.
help them in so many different aspects, because I'm pretty sure their finances was not in order.
Hmm.
So, I mean, you're preaching the right language. Please go on. I love it.
Yes. So if a family can come together and have that discussion, and sometimes you have to take out the emotions out of it, honestly, because if you want to deal with the facts aren't emotions. You have to deal with, okay, what's the most logical thing that we need to do here? Our parents are not going to be around forever. We have little more years to go, despite the external things that can happen. But we have a generation to take care of that's coming behind us. And a lot of times people don't believe that it's our responsibility to take care of the generation that is coming behind us. I'm a big advocate that every parent should bear the responsibility to set up their children financially. Because if you don't, they're going to be playing catch up to the others that are ahead of them. And then while they're figuring it out and they having to come to take care of you, you are leaving them nothing, no cushion, no safeguard, nothing. Yes, they are great providers. Our parents have been great providers back in their days, but they were terrible protectors. So having that conversation, especially for the caregivers out there, make sure that you are setting up yourself so that your generation, which is your children, it says that in the Bible, that we are responsible to take care of our children's children. We're supposed to leave them an inheritance. The Bible tells you that. So it's our responsibility. So don't think of it as, man, this sounds like we're trying to profit off of the death of your parents. No, that's love.
Yes.
When your parents leave something behind for you, that is the ultimate love, that when I'm gone, I can still take care of you. So
yes,
think that way.
I love that. And the thing is, it is true that the Bible does say this. And I feel education play a major part in what's happening to our community. And I feel like culture has something to do with it as well, because everyone else who are educated enough take care of at least certain things. Not everybody have their finances in order, but they at least think about the next generation. I feel our parents did the best that they could with the limited education that they had, right? So now we know what you've been through as a sandwich generation caregiver, and we are moms. So now we are educated, right? Now having you on this show to talk about what you've been going through is priceless, because now you are the testimony of getting your acts together so that your children don't have to go through the hardship that I have to go through. And education played a major role of this.
Major role.
And I've been in conversations where people feel like if you say you need to have a life insurance, you're trying to profit off the debt. But it is not true. It is lack of education, and we need to change that.
Exactly. I've had unfortunate conversations with people when I explain this, and they get into such a defense, and it's like, that is just terrible that you just even say something like that. Even getting a policy on their child, because it's not so much of getting a policy on your child. Remember, we live in a world where there's a lot of sickness, there's a lot of illnesses that are out there, and we don't have, apart from prior, of course, but we don't have the surety that we will never be sick. When your child is born into this world, what is the first illness that children have? Autism. A lot of kids are getting cancers these days. So in the first 2 weeks of that child's life, get a policy on your child.
And listen, the Rockefellers do it.
They do.
They need to read that book. I'm going to drop it in the comment. And I'm not affiliated. I am just really like you. I like for people to be educated. And it was one of the books that I read, implemented, and made sure my children read it, because I also implement financial education into our family education. And I have a 16-year-old. He'll be 17 this month, and soon he'll be an adult. Even though I've done everything to protect him financially and to push him ahead, he still needs to be financially educated. Exactly. To know what to do with my finances when I can't speak, to know how to speak on my behalf.
Exactly. It's so true. Because even before, my stepdad got so far along in his illness, we had conversations about power of attorney. You want to also, for the caregivers out there listening, if you have elderly parents, discuss power of attorney. Power of attorney is not relinquishing their autonomy over themselves, because a lot of times they feel like, oh, they're going to come in and take over my life. No, you actually can have this document that says, upon when I no longer can make these decisions, my son, my daughter is the responsible person to take care of these decisions for me. You don't want to wait till when they are deteriorating, especially mentally, because no doctor is going to sign off or be of any type of backup for you to say, yes, you could be the power of attorney then, because then they're going to say they're not in the right mental capacity to make that decision. And then now you're going to have to be doing all these runarounds, trying to help them the best way you can, but then you have no document to back you up to make those decisions. You know them the best. There's no medical system that knows the best for your parents. You know exactly what they want. So having that discussion about power of attorney, life insurance, figuring out the finances, all of these things, figure them out before it's too late, because it was too late for me. I mean, now I could get some things in order, based off the resources that now I know in the financial space that is available to me. But before it gets late for you, I encourage you to have a family meeting. You could have a professional, because I also work with estate planning attorneys who can also offer, this discussion to them free of charge. And I can also have these conversations with people just to make sure that they are aligning themselves in the right direction, because it's a dark road for caregivers, especially trying to navigate the system and having to see the parents that once took care of you so well that can't take care of themselves. So it's a lot. So I encourage anybody to have that discussion. Yes, it's a hard one, but it's a necessary one.
Please listen to what she just said. Coming from someone who has managed an assisted living community, and when I tell you, I was the point of contact whenever someone was coming to have their parents or their loved one live at the facility where I manage. And having the power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, HIPAA rights, it makes a huge difference. Besides having the finances in order, you need to know all of these things before you can help anybody. And the doctors will tell you they can't help you. You don't have legal rights. Yeah. They're protecting themselves against you, who's trying to help your parents.
Exactly. I've actually experienced that because, again, prior to this, of him being in decline, I was able to put a nip in the bud there, where I arrived at the hospital and they wanted to do the dialysis on him. He did I forgot what they call that thing they put in their arm to do the dialysis. But because he ended up having another stroke, because he had a second stroke.
Wow.
Landed him in the hospital again. He was unresponsive, and I was the only one. And then there was no one of these other children that could answer the call. They couldn't reach to anybody, and I was the only one. And I remember how they told me, ma'am, we cannot talk to you. We cannot talk to you. Yes, you are his stepdaughter, but we cannot talk to you. And then my mom at the time was saying, please speak to my daughter. I cannot, in my condition, I cannot do all the things that you want me to. She's going to come up there and do it. And they're like, ma'am, we cannot talk to her. She's not legally able to talk to us. And I was able to express. I could do the healthcare proxy because I did have that, but I was not power of attorney. I had to go back, bring the document to show them, and that's how I was able to help.
I'm telling you. And it's like, you never know what can happen, because even being young, you still need to have those documents in place, because you just don't know, and it's like, could you imagine? You're thinking, oh, that's my mom and that's my dad. Of course I want to help her. Of course, you're going to listen to me. But they're telling you legally, we are not listening to you.
Yeah.
And even worse, like sometimes your parents may have some money in their bank account, right? And you want to access the money to pay their rent or to help them, but you can't. And imagine if they can't.
Yes. And for the listeners out there, if you haven't done it already, call your bank now and get a beneficiary, so that if God forbid, if anything happens to you, it can be transferred to the person so that they can help you, because you're going to need your money. You're going to have access to your money if anything happens to you. Okay. So I just want to put that out there. Call your bank and get your beneficiary on there now.
Why does it sound like you've been there, done that, right? Because you've been through You've been through
No,
all.
I've been through it. I've learned the most lessons with my stepfather, especially him, because when it came to paying some bills for him, they were like, "No, ma'am, you cannot do this, you cannot do that." It was a lot. So yes, right now, as soon as you get off this, call your bank and whoever you want to designate, whoever you can trust, put someone else on there. I'm just saying.
I love that. I love that so much. As a mom, and I share your spirit, I share your heart. I can tell you legitimately love your parents and you do the best that you can to care for them. And this is why we're having this conversation because, we are grateful for our parents for what they did for us with the limited knowledge that they have. But I feel like we can do better for our children. We can be better for the people that will then become our caregivers. One of my big policy is you don't have to put your life on hold to take care of me. Here are the steps I put in place. It's okay that I am at an assisted living facility. I'm in the industry and I know that there are some bad apples, but majority of them are good people. They have good caregivers who actually legitimately care for the seniors. And I'm happy to be there. Visit me when you can. You don't have to commit your life to me. I want you to go out and live, right?
Yes.
But those are some things that we have to also express to our children, the people around us that care about us, because for our community, they have this impression that it is bad to put mom into an assisted living community, when in reality, times have changed. I don't know how many times I have conversations with caregivers. Their health have declined so bad taking care of their parents, that day-to-day stress. Would our parents want that for us?
No, not at all.
And those are conversations we need to have. Is there anything else you want to say to my audience today? Because listen, you have covered, take notes. Okay, come back,
Yes.
rewatch this episode. And if you come up with other questions, if you want to take the opportunity to schedule a call and let Carashay help you, because she's been there, done that. She can strategize your finances, go through it with you so that you can set yourself up, you can set your children up, you can set your parents up, you can have a roadmap to the hard conversations and find ways that you can mitigate the level of stress that goes on into caregiving.
Exactly. If anyone wants to reach me, you could see me on Instagram. It's my name, Carashay Williams. Could reach out to me there. I have some content there that you also can consume. And if you do want to, I can leave a Calendly invite if you want to book a call. It's at no charge to you. If you want to know what your options are as a caregiver, as family, because it is an important discussion to have, especially with a professional that's able to assist you, to tell you what's out there and align you to the resources that are out there and available to you. Because the thing about it is, a lot of times we don't know what our options are. And because we don't know what our options are, we are often undeserved. So I put out to you guys to make sure you sit down and talk to someone about family planning. It's not just about finances, but family planning. As what you said, what to do if I'm declined, if I have a stroke, what to do if I have a heart attack, what to do when whatever it is that happens, or if I'm in a car accident. You need to have these plans in place because we are at risk. We go out every day. We're exposed to risk. So you have to know who you're going to transfer those risks to if those things happen. All right. So again, thank you for having me, Carlene. This has been very refreshing. I'm happy to talk to your audience about this information. Hopefully they've learned something and found the information valuable.
Thank you so much for being here. We will definitely add your contact information, the link to your calendar, and I am so super grateful. I am pretty sure they learned something. Even I learned a lot. Okay.
Yes.
And I am like you. I like to read. I like to connect with people. I have so many different resources. But then this was so refreshing and I learned a lot because I mean, what you said is just so important. And it's one of those conversations people don't usually have. But take it from Carashay. Thank
Yes.
you so much for being here. Don't forget to to subscribe, and to go find Miss Carashay on Instagram. Follow her, schedule a time to speak with her. It is good for you. And until next time, I am here to provide you with the resources that helps you to thrive. And I love to see everyone winning. And I am so super excited to have been able to bring Miss Carashay to you. Until next time, talk to you later.